It's almost time. I'm about to leave for an epic photography trip that will take me to three incredible African destinations, being the Central Kalahari Game Reserve, the Khwai and Savuti in northern Botswana, and also South Luangwa National Park in Zambia. When you plan a safari trip like this, timing is everything. It dictates wildlife sightings, photographic opportunities, and even your comfort levels. In this video, I will explain everything you need to know about safari seasons and how to choose the perfect time to travel based on your photographic goals. By the way, if you are planning your own safari adventure, don't forget to download my free wildlife photography ebook. 100 pages full of field-tested tips to prepare you perfectly. Link down in the description. Let's start from the basics. We can divide the safari year in dry season and wet season. These are not officially marked on the calendar. It's nothing like fall, spring or winter. And they can even happen at different times from country to country and sometimes even within the same country. Based on your exact location, you can have one place that is a bit drier and the other is already in full wet season. Take note that the season you choose will impact heavily on your wildlife sightings, on your photographic opportunities, and even on the budget of your trip. So the dry season is usually considered the prime safari season. In fact, with less and less rainfall and a lot of natural water sources drying out after a few weeks, animals will tend to congregate more and more around waterholes, and so they will become much easier to predict. In fact, if you have a waterhole where all the herbivores will be, it will attract lions, leopards, cheetah, and any other predator you can think of. Also, drier weather means less vegetation that will dry out through the season. This will mean better visibility and often cleaner backgrounds. During the dry season is also a bit cooler usually, so it's a bit more pleasant, but as the season progresses it can become very dusty as the soil will be very dry. And also, being the prime season is also hike season, so more people, places that are fully booked even months in advance, and higher prices. On the other end, the green season or rainy season is less popular, but it can be incredibly rewarding as well. With the rain, the landscapes become lush and vibrant. You will get dramatic skies and incredible lighting conditions, because while during the dry season we mostly have crystal clear skies, during the wet season we have these dramatic views with heavy clouds and dramatic skies that might provide very good photographic opportunities. Usually the rainy season is also when most animals give birth to their offspring. This means you will have the chance to see and photograph lion cubs or leopard cubs, or even zebras or whatever other herbivore offsprings. That is always very nice. And this also means some very interesting predator-prey dynamics, where the predators are trying to feed on this newborn. Wet season is also very good for birding, and you will also find less people, less busy camps and lodges, and lower prices. Of course, there are some trade-offs. The roads will be super muddy and a lot of places will be impossible to reach, especially in Zambia, where most lodges and camps, they just shut down during the peak rainy season because they are completely flooded. The vegetation gets thicker and it makes more difficult to spot wildlife in the tall grass, and also the wildlife itself becomes less predictable because the animals get access to water and food everywhere far out in the deep wild bush. They tend to frequent a bit less the waterholes around the lodges and the camps. Now that we know about these two main seasons, when is best to go where? In my case, for this trip that is starting very soon, I chose a particular order of when I'm visiting the different locations. I will start with the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. The climate there is very desertic, and that place tends to be more productive for wildlife sightings during the wet season. In fact, during the dry season, it gets so dry that life becomes difficult also for the animals. So that will be my first stop making the most of the tail of the green season. From there, I will move north to the Khwai and Savuti regions. These are places that benefit much more of the dry season, and I will be there at the very beginning of the dry season, so I can make the most of the conditions that are starting to be very good for wildlife, but still I will get few people, not too crowded parks and camps, and hopefully I will still have amazing sightings. Of course, I will publish a lot of BTS content on the channel, so remember to hit the subscribe button not to miss anything of that. After this very long trip in Botswana, I will fly to Zambia, where I will visit again South Luangwa National Park. This is one of my absolute favorite safari destinations, but it gets very heavy flooding during the rainy season, so I will go there a bit later, towards the end of June, so there is a bit more time for the land to dry out, the vegetation to decrease a bit, to give me again prime conditions to spot hopefully a lot of lions and leopards that are my main goal there in South Luangwa. This is for my trip, but maybe you're traveling somewhere else, so here is a rapid fire breakdown of ideal timing for most of the major national parks in Southern Africa. For the Central Kalahari Game Reserve, we already seen that it's very good during the wet season. This means December to March. You have to be careful about being stuck in the mud, as there is no infrastructure and no help whatsoever. But if you have the skills to go there, it's gonna be a very good adventure. Further north, in the Khwai, Savuti, Chobe and Moremi areas, the best time is the dry season, starting in March and improving until around October. Then it will be incredibly hot for a while, for a few weeks, before the next rainy season will start. About Zambia, we have parks like South Luangwa, Lower Zambezi, Liuwa Plains and others. They all tend to be very productive during the dry season, especially in the late dry season, so September, October, very good sightings there. It's still possible to visit during the wet season, but again, most camps and lodges will be shut down because Zambia gets super heavy floodings and it becomes very complicated even just to move around. The main park in Namibia is Etosha National Park, another favorite destination of mine. You have to rely a lot on the waterholes and the presence of wildlife at waterholes. You cannot drive off-road, so if animals don't show up at the waterholes that you can access by road, you cannot do anything about it. This means you must go during the dry season again. Sightings are already very good in May, and they will improve through the season, peaking in September and October. Avoid November if you can, as it will be incredibly hot and humid, and after that it will start raining and the vegetation in it becomes super thick, so I would probably avoid being there until April at least. We will not cover Eastern Africa here in this guide. Countries like Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania, they are a bit different and a bit more complicated, as they tend to have one main rainy season and then one shorter secondary rainy season, and it depends on the latitude where you are at. So that's a different topic. Let me know if you are interested in hearing about that, leaving a comment down below. Also, if you want to know how I managed to travel safely with all my bulky and expensive camera gear to these remote destinations, check out this video here.